प्रदेश के औद्योगिक विकास एवं आर्थिक प्रगति के महाकुंभ में ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर समिट 2023 में भारत सरकार के कर्मठ एवं परिश्रमी एवं ऊर्जावान नागर विमानन माननीय मंत्री आदरणीय ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी का मैं हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन करता हूं। सिविल एविएशन इन उत्तर प्रदेश द इमर्जिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी विषय पर आयोजित सत्र में उपस्थित माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के एसीएस श्री एसपी गोयल जी, बेल्जियम के पूर्व उप प्रधानमंत्री एवं यूरोपियन इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट श्री क्रिस पीटर जी, आकाशा एयर की ऑपरेशन हेड जिन्होंने अभी अपने कितने सारे एक्सपीरियंस आपके बीच में शेयर किए, नीलू खत्री जी, एयर इंडिया एक्सप्रेस के सीईओ श्री आलोक सिंह जी, श्री डोनियल बिरकर जी, श्री कपिल कौल जी, इन्वेस्ट इंडिया के एमडी सीईओ श्री दीपक बागला जी, यहाँ पर उपस्थित एविएशन सेक्टर से जुड़े सभी सम्मानित स्टेक होल्डर्स, मीडिया के साथियों, मैं आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन करता हूं अपनी ओर से, अपनी सरकार की ओर से और सरकार के मुखिया योगी आदित्यनाथ जी की ओर से आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन करता हूं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इस समिट का उद्घाटन करते हुए ये कहा कि दुनिया की तरक्की भारत की तरक्की की बुनियाद पर आधारित है और भारत की तरक्की का रास्ता उत्तर प्रदेश से होकर के गुजरता है। यह हमारे लिए एक मंत्र भी है और प्रेरणा भी है। आप सभी अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के मार्गदर्शन में और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के नेतृत्व में 2017 से 2022 में उत्तर प्रदेश उत्तम प्रदेश बना है, अब सर्वोत्तम प्रदेश बनने की ओर अग्रसर है और हम सब मिल करके इसे सर्वोत्तम प्रदेश बनाएंगे। ये आज की समिट इस बात की गवाह बन रही है। देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री आदरणीय श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के नेतृत्व में प्रदेश हर गुजरते दिन के साथ समृद्धि और खुशहाली के विकास की नई ऊंचाइयों को छू रहा है। ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर समिट में एविएशन सेक्टर विकास की ऊंचाई को एक नया और बेहद महत्वपूर्ण आयाम दे रहा है। मित्रों, किसी भी राज्य की औद्योगिक एवं आर्थिक प्रगति में ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एवं कनेक्टिविटी की बेहद महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका होती है। पिछले करीब 6 वर्षों के दौरान माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में हमने इस सेक्टर में अभूतपूर्व उपलब्धियां हासिल की है। एयर कनेक्टिविटी के क्षेत्र में ऐतिहासिक काम हुआ है। एक्सप्रेसवे और एयरपोर्ट उत्तर प्रदेश के सिग्नेचर के रूप में आज जाने जा रहे हैं। वह जेवर एयरपोर्ट जो चुनाव के समय ही चर्चा में आता था और चुनाव के बाद ठंडे बस्ते में चला जाता था, ये पिछली सरकारों की उदासीनता की वजह से ये होता था और आज मैं गर्व और गौरव के साथ कह सकता हूं कि आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का मार्गदर्शन, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का नेतृत्व और आदरणीय हमारे बहुत ही ऊर्जावान माननीय मंत्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी के के गरिमामय उपस्थिति में जेवर एयरपोर्ट का शिलान्यास हुआ और सितंबर 2024 में उस पर ट्रायल रन भी होने जा रहा है। ये साकार रूप ले रहा है। एशिया के सबसे बड़े एयरपोर्ट के रूप में जेवर एयरपोर्ट उड़ान का संचालन आरंभ होने से पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश की आर्थिक विकास को नई रफ्तार मिलेगी और दिल्ली के IGI एयरपोर्ट पर भी उड़ानों का दबाव कम होगा। NCR के लोगों के लिए जेवर एयरपोर्ट एक वरदान साबित होगा। दुनिया भर में सनातन धर्म को मानने वालों की आस्था के केंद्र भगवान श्री राम की जन्मस्थली अयोध्या में मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम प्रभु श्री राम इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट भी बनाया जा रहा है। इस एयरपोर्ट के निर्माण से अयोध्या की सांस्कृतिक पहचान एवं ऐतिहासिक महत्व को नई ख्याति मिलेगी। साथ ही इस क्षेत्र में आर्थिक गतिविधियों को बहुत ही सुलभता से रोजगार भी मिलेंगे। पिछली सरकार में मेरे पास एविएशन डिपार्टमेंट था, इसकी जिम्मेदारी थी। ऐसा कई बार हुआ कि डिपार्टमेंट में कोई भी फाइल आई हो, उसी दिन निदेशालय में, उसी दिन सचिवालय में और उसी दिन मंत्रालय से भारत सरकार को भी भेजी गई और माननीय हमारे जो ऊर्जावान माननीय मंत्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी हैं, मैं फाइलें लेकर के जाता था, लिस्ट लेकर के जाता था और आपके कार्य करने की जो कुशलता, कार्य करने की जो का तरीका है, वो अपने सभी ऑफिसर को बुला करके बैठाल करके तुरंत निर्णय कराते थे। इसी का कारण है कि जहां आजादी के बाद से अब तक उत्तर प्रदेश में केवल 2 एयरपोर्ट संचालित थे, आज 9 एयरपोर्ट संचालित हैं। केवल 24 जगह उड़ान थी, आज 80 से 90 उड़ान के बीच उत्तर प्रदेश सफर कर रहा है। और जल्द ही 9 एयरपोर्ट हम संचालित कर रहे हैं, 10 एयरपोर्ट पर काम चल रहा है और 2 और एयरपोर्ट पर हम जमीन खरीद रहे हैं। इस स्थिति में है जल्द ही 21 एयरपोर्ट के साथ, 16 डोमेस्टिक एयरपोर्ट के साथ 5 इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट का देश का पहला राज्य होने का उत्तर प्रदेश को गौरव प्राप्त होगा। हमें हर कदम पर भारत सरकार का सहयोग एवं प्रोत्साहन प्राप्त हुआ। मुझे ये कहने में बेहद गौरव की अनुभूति हो रही है कि डबल इंजन की सरकार का सबसे ज्यादा फायदा जिन विभागों को मिला है उसमें एविएशन डिपार्टमेंट प्रमुख है। हमने जब भी माननीय मंत्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी से समय मांगा, उन्होंने केवल हमें समय ही नहीं दिया बल्कि हमारी मांगों को पूरा करने के लिए और तुरंत निर्णय भी लिया और बहुत सारे बहुमूल्य सुझाव दिए। देश की सबसे बड़ी आबादी वाला राज्य होने के कारण उत्तर प्रदेश की हवाई सीमाओं के विस्तार में अपार संभावनाएं मौजूद हैं। यही कारण है इस क्षेत्र में हमें निवेश के कई सारे महत्वपूर्ण प्रस्ताव प्राप्त हुए हैं। हम एविएशन सेक्टर में निवेश करने वाले प्रत्येक स्टेक होल्डर के हितों की सुरक्षा का भरोसा और विश्वास दिलाते हैं। हम और आप कंधे से कंधा मिला करके, कदम से कदम मिला करके सामूहिक प्रयासों के साथ उत्तर प्रदेश के एविएशन सेक्टर को नई बुलंदियों पर ले जाने का संकल्प लेते हैं। नए भारत का नया उत्तर प्रदेश आप सभी के स्वागत और आप सभी के अभिनंदन के लिए तैयार है और आपके किए हुए निवेश की हितों की रक्षा और सुरक्षा हमारी सरकार की जिम्मेदारी है। मैं पुनः आप सभी का सम्मानित मंच का हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन करते हुए अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूं। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you so much, Shri Nangopal Gupta ji. Now I would request our Honorable Minister for Civil Aviation and Steel, Government of India, please put your hands together for our chief guest, Shri Jyotiraditya M. Sindhya ji.
Seated on the dais with me this afternoon, my colleague, former Civil Aviation Minister of the state of Uttar Pradesh, a person who is very committed to the cause that he takes up, today Cabinet Minister of Industrial Development, which includes in its portfolio every area of infrastructure of Uttar Pradesh, my good friend Nangopal Gupta ji, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, with whom I've had the pleasure and honor of sharing this dais, Mr. Chris Peters, the Additional Chief Secretary, Civil Aviation, Government of UP, a gentleman who by nature is always behind the curtain and invisible, but very instrumental in bringing about the huge amount of change and development in Uttar Pradesh, Mr. S.P. Goyal, the CEO of Kappa India, Kapil Kaulji, Chairman of YAPL, a person now well known to me, who's spearheading in many ways a new journey in the civil aviation arena of not only Uttar Pradesh but India, in the form of the contribution by Zurich Airports, by setting up Jewar Airport, Daniel Bircher, CEO of Air India Express, Alok Singh Ji, the head of operations and an entrepreneur in her own right. A true shining example of the capability of New India. The head of operations of Akasa Air, Srimati Neelu Khatri ji, Deepak Bagla ji, MD and CEO of Invest India, delegates present here this afternoon, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly honored and privileged to be present here in the land of Uttar Pradesh. The soil, the land that has nurtured many a civilization. The soil and the land that has been the genesis of transformation, of development and growth, not only in the context of present-day India, but if we look back at the annals of history, अगर इतिहास के पन्नों को हम पलटेंगे तो उत्तर प्रदेश की भूमिका, उत्तर प्रदेश का महत्व वर्तमान की आधुनिक भारत में केवल नहीं, लेकिन हजारों साल पुरानी ऐतिहासिक भारत माता की प्रगति और विकास और श्रृंखला में सदैव प्राथमिकता रखती थी, रखती है, और भविष्य के भारत में भी वो प्राथमिकता वही उत्तर प्रदेश सदैव रखेगी। तो इस भूमि को मैं नमन करता हूं, इस भूमि को मैं प्रणाम करता हूं। The soil which has led to the development of our country's progress through civilization. And as Albert Einstein once said, and I quote, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity, unquote. और यही सोच और विचारधारा जहां एक तरफ हमारे देश के पंत प्रधान, our Prime Minister's thought, our Prime Minister's vision, that in adversity lies opportunity, within challenges seek opportunity, चुनौतियों में अवसर ढूंढो. On the one hand, on a country-wide perspective, and on the other hand, on a state-wide perspective, our Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, who in his tenure has been single-handedly talking and walking the mantra of development and progress. And so when there is synergy, ladies and gentlemen, synergy of thought, synergy of action, synergy of execution, then you see transformation, the kind of transformation that we have seen in Uttar Pradesh in the last 7 years, and in the scale of India in the last 9 years, truly transforming Uttar Pradesh as India's new growth engine, and India as the world's new growth engine. Now, many of the doyens of industry on the stage here today have spoken about their stories, have spoken about their opportunities. Nand Gopal Nandi ji has spoken about Uttar Pradesh's story. And I'd like to give you a brief overview of the opportunity that our sector, the civil aviation sector, presents not only to Uttar Pradesh, but to India, and transcending Uttar Pradesh, transcending India, the opportunity that civil aviation presents on the global stage today, emanating from India. We've all seen great vicissitudes in the last 28 months. A scenario of despair where fleets across the world were grounded. Not enough of tarmacs to park passenger aircraft throughout the world. Airlines fighting on a day-to-day basis, struggling to survive. From that nadir, today in India we have experienced a V-shaped recovery, where in the last 6 to 8 months, with the grit and resilience of our airport operators, the grit and the resilience of our airline operators, the support given by Government of India and state governments, today we are crafting a new path, ladies and gentlemen, a new path to fortify that resilience, a new path to move from a pure recovery path to a path of resurgence. And that today is the opportunity in India. In the last 9 years, the journey that the sector has traversed, and truly if you look at the exponential change that has come about in civil aviation, the landmark change that the Prime Minister has brought about, his steadfast vision that we have to make sure that we see the democratization of civil aviation. नागर विमानन क्षेत्र का प्रधानमंत्री जी ने लोकतांत्रिकरण कर दी है और प्रजातंत्रीकरण कर दी है. A sector that was limited as a service to an elitist few has become today the bulwark of travel and transportation for the masses in India. And that paradigm shift, that paradigm change, to give you a flavor of how far we have come. In the first 67 years of India's independence, our country built 74 airports. In the last 9 years, from that number of 74 airports, we have built an additional 73 airports, waterdromes and heliports, reaching a number of 147. And I guarantee you today, we are one short of doubling that number. The 148th airport will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister on the 27th of this month in the state of Karnataka. That is the level of transformation that we have seen. From a fleet size of 400 aircraft, we have today grown to 700 aircraft. From an industry that was characterized by airlines that were shutting down, We have seen the birth of a new airline in the form of Akasa Air. And Neeluji has very rightfully said, from a fleet of 2 aircraft, almost 8 months ago, today Akasa Air has grown to 16 aircraft. And that's the capability and the opportunity that India offers today to the world. The path to democratization in the civil aviation sector was brought about by the Prime Minister's dream project, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, the Udan scheme, a viability gap funding model which looked at increasing both the breadth of airline connectivity and the depth of airline connectivity. And through the Udan Yojana, we have developed 73 new airports and heliports and waterdromes in the country. Many such that have been closed since the Second World War. The stories of Jharsuguda on the eastern coast of Orissa, the story of Kishangarh in Rajasthan, the story of Rupsi in Assam, the story of Darbhanga. Airports today have combined and ensured close to 115 lakh passengers, 1 crore 15 lakh passengers that possibly could never have dreamt of traveling by air before, today are flying high in the skies. That's the transformation that we have seen. When we talk about Tier 1 airports, India's capacity today, if you look at purely the metros, Delhi today has a capacity of 70 million throughput, growing to 100 million by the end of this year. And to supplement Delhi, we have Jewar Airport at a cost of 10,000 crores coming up in Uttar Pradesh, initially with a capacity of 12 million, growing to 60 million. Mumbai with a capacity of 60 million passengers throughput. The new Navi Mumbai Airport coming up with a new capability between 20 to 50 million at the final stage. The same is the story in Chennai, which is going to grow to 35 million, going up to 55 million. Hyderabad going up to 40 million. Bengaluru, which has gone to 55 million already. Kolkata currently at 20 million, growing to 40 million. And if you look at these 6 metros in India alone, a capability of 230 million throughput today, which in the next 4 years will grow upwards of 400 million in our country, just purely in these 6 metros. That is the potential of civil aviation. In 2013-14, we had 60 million travelers in our country. Pre-COVID, we had 144 million domestic travelers. And I guarantee you today, combined with domestic, 60 million, 144 million domestic, 60 million international. 200 million travelers pre-COVID. In the next 5 years, that number, ladies and gentlemen, will grow from 20 crore today to 400 million in the next 5 years. That's the possibility of civil aviation in India. Civil aviation across the world today has become a driver of growth. From a GDP multiplier standpoint, every dollar invested in civil aviation yields 3.25 as a multiplier. Not only is it an economic growth multiplier, but it is also an employment multiplier. For every direct job that civil aviation gets, 6 indirect jobs are created. And therefore, countries across the world, states across India, are realizing the potential of civil aviation. Today we are sitting in the Global Investment Summit of UP. The first question that investors ask when you talk about investment opportunities in any site is, you have air connectivity or not? Because what has changed in the world in the last 2 decades, the only thing that there is a paucity of, there is no paucity of capital in the world. There is no paucity of opportunity in the world. The only thing that there is a paucity of in the world today is time. And time translates into opportunity. Time translates into money. And therefore, connectivity for every state, connectivity for every country has become the key word in the lexicon of international commerce. I'm glad to report today that in order to further the civil aviation agenda across the country, in 2021, we had 12 states that charged ATF between 1 to 4%. VAT on ATF, air turbine fuel. And air turbine fuel consists 50% of the operating costs of carriers, between 40 to 50%. We had close to about 26 states, 24 states that charge between 20 to 30% value-added tax on air turbine fuel. Now think of the economy that provides. In the last year and a half, I'm glad to report to you today that through persuasion, through folded hands, through the logic of economic arguments, we today have 17 states that have moved from a 20 to 30% VAT regime on ATF to a 1 to 4% VAT regime on ATF. And among those states, the leader is the state of Uttar Pradesh. When I first approached the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath ji and talked about this being the hurdle in the path, the critical path for the extension of civil aviation in the state, between himself, my colleague Nandgopal Nandi ji, SP Goyal sir, in a matter of a month and a half, a cabinet meeting was called, agenda passed, notification issued, and Uttar Pradesh moved from a 25-30% regime to a regime of 1% of VAT on ATF. Now look at the translation and the dividends. Today Uttar Pradesh in 13-14 had only 6 operational airports. Today Uttar Pradesh has 13 operational airports. 7 new airports have been built in the last 7 years under the regime of Yogi Adityanath. We are committed to Uttar Pradesh to take this number of 13 to 21 in the days to come. Uttar Pradesh will become the state with the largest number of airports in the length and breadth of India in the days to come. Whereas on domestic airports, Uttar Pradesh is becoming the leader. So is it becoming the leader in the area of international airports. Uttar Pradesh will have 5 international airports, from Lucknow to Varanasi, Kashi, to Kushinagar, to Jewar, to the land of Lord Ram, Ayodhya. 5 international airports in the state of UP. And along with those 5 international airports, we're also looking at an explosive growth of statewide intra-connectivity. Uttar Pradesh, which had air traffic movements in 2014, number of only 604, in the last 9 years has grown from 604, growth rate of 146%, to 1,490 air traffic movements per week. That connectivity is growing through the length and breadth of Uttar Pradesh. From Lucknow to Kanpur to Kushinagar to Varanasi to Agra to Hindon to Bareilly to Gorakhpur to Prayagraj to Meerut, Moradabad, Kanpur, Ayodhya, and in the days to come, Jewar, Saranpur, Fursatganj, Aligarh, Azamgarh, Chitrakoot, Mirpur and Shravasti. Such will be the bevy of length and breadth and depth of civil aviation in the days to come in UP. Not only are we looking at connectivity throughout UP, but UP presents a microcosm of India. Industrial capability, tourism capability, religious circuit capability, heritage capability, and our tourism Udan circuits. We have announced 26 circuits, of which 2 are flying today, and another 12 in the next 3 months will commence shortly. Under the whole Udan program, we have 273 routes that are flying between Uttar Pradesh and other states, and I commit to you that we will increase this number in the days to come. Where on the one hand, we have seen the growth, explosive growth of civil aviation across Uttar Pradesh. On the other hand, we're also looking at the digitalization agenda within UP and the country. We have introduced a new system of seamless connectivity for passengers through the Digi Yatra network, where the minute you enter an airport, from the entry gate into check-in, to your security gate, to your boarding gate, into your aircraft, based on a face recognition technology, FRT, which globally has been instituted only on a piecemeal basis in all the international airports from Dubai to Atlanta to Narita Airport to New York. We have done it across the board in India in 3 airports, Delhi, Bengaluru and Varanasi. And I'm pleased to report to you that the greatest adoption rate in the country in these 3 airports on a pilot basis is in none other than Varanasi, where 29% of our passengers today use Digi Yatra to connect onto aircraft across the country. UP presents tremendous opportunity for investors, tremendous opportunity for India at large and on the global stage. We have dedicated freight corridors both on the western corridor running between Delhi and Bombay and the eastern corridor. A strong entrepreneurial network across industries, whether we talk about sports items being manufactured in Meerut, whether we talk about brassware in Moradabad, embroidered saris in Varanasi, carpet making in Bhadoi, chicken work in Lucknow, and therefore Uttar Pradesh has something to offer to everyone across the world. It ranks second in the ease of doing business across the country and is the top manufacturing destination, contributing about 8% to the country's GDP. I firmly believe that the Prime Minister's resolve to convert and transform India into a $5 trillion economy will be complemented by the state of Uttar Pradesh with a population of close to 250 million, close to the population of the United States of America, half the population of combined Europe, with a GDP of $280 billion to grow to a GDP of $1 trillion in the next 5 to 7 years. I would like to see Uttar Pradesh chart that path, and civil aviation will play a seminal role in the transformation of Uttar Pradesh into India's growth engine in the days to come. And I have always believed in philosophy, in culture, in adhyatma. Ayodhya, Kashi and Mathura have always led the path of transformation in our country. And so will they, I believe, in the next decade, as India moves from its Amrit Kal to Shatabdi Kal, growing into a world economic power in the days to come under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Thank you very much for having me.